Hello and welcome to another video and podcast from Fantasy Football Scout. Today we turn our attention to the Sky game and week 14, which gets underway on Friday. My name is Joe and joining me is Luke. Luke, how are you?
I'm good, Joe. I'm good. Finally a decent week in FPL and Sky to come on a video afterwards. So it feels nice for once.
Yeah, it did. I mean, I had I thought I had a good week in FPL until I got my red arrow, but I was happy with
Okay.
it. But for different reasons. So for me, I heavily stocked up on Leicester in my Sky team, which we'll come to in a bit. Which obviously delighted me, and I don't have that for my FPL team. So it's sort of I have been warned about hedging in future. Kind of, you have your FPL and your Sky team, and it's a bit dangerous to do that usually. So it's a bit of an accident of the way my transfers have gone to get to that level. But anyway, let's have a look at the upcoming fixtures. So see what's kind of right coming up, and you can see there we've got a problem already. We've got a very boring clash of Norwich against Watford on a single game day, and that's on Friday. Hots up again on Saturday. We've got lots of options there, I think, particularly amongst Leicester assets for the captaincy. And as we move into Sunday, I think there's a few options there. Possibly if someone's got a Wolves, got Jimenez in, but I think for me it's that Liverpool Man City clash. It's going to be one of them, and it's probably going to be a Liverpool player. But let's have a look at your team. Tell us a bit about your game week's gone, and a bit about anything you're planning to do coming up this week. I know we were talking on air about doing nothing, but anyway, explain more. Here's your team. You've got Alisson, Robertson, Alexander-Arnold, Sionju, Gilbert, De Bruyne, Hudson-Odoi, Mount, Aubameyang, Sterling, and Mane up front. So just tell us a bit about that team. Who are your stars at the moment? Who's anyone for the chop?
Yeah, so it was an okay week, 85 points. I went up in most of my mini leagues. However, I think there was some other big scores around as well. So overall, I'm pretty happy. It's that man Soyuncu. He's my main guy. Sitting there with 32 points after getting
Whoa.
the armband. Is a good feeling because obviously he scored that goal, got the clean sheet, and as everyone knows who's got Soyuncu, he's got all sorts of strings to his bow. So he also managed to. On this occasion he didn't. Surprisingly, he was actually one tackle and one pass off, getting bonus as well. So he could have potentially had another 4 points, double to 8 on top of this. Then you factor in he actually got a yellow card as well, taking it down by 2 if you had him on the armband. He still got an impressive 32, but he could have had anything from 40 upwards even, just with that one extra tackle or pass. And it really shows the power of this guy. So he was definitely the star of the show. After, I know we didn't do a Sky one last week, Joe, so we had the 9-0 and we were debating whether to get Vardy in and captain him for that game. Obviously Vardy had his turn then, he got his hat-trick, but Soyuncu still got a clean sheet and bonus in that. So I looked at the difference between the two guys, and I'm assuming if you had Vardy or Soyuncu, you would have probably captained them in both of those fixtures. And it turns out that Vardy's actually outscored him by 3 points overall.
I know. Well, I have Vardy in my side, and I am genuinely thinking each week: do I captain Vardy or do I captain Sionju? Because he's as you say, he's so potent, isn't he? With those the bonuses that he's getting there. But I do wonder. I don't think it's going to cost me having both.
Vardy, definitely not. No.
I know a bit later we have some questions about Vardy, and looking at your front line there, you've got Aubameyang, Sterling, Mane. Well, nothing wrong with them. How on earth do we get fit Vardy in as well? I mean, are you considering getting Vardy in?
I think we have to. He's just in such good form. They've got such good games. So it's a real problem. Ideally, I want sort of 5-6 striker spots now. The midfield seems almost void this season. It seems really bad overall. I've got an issue there with Hudson-Odoi in my midfield, who obviously looked like he was going to be a key asset. And it's a bit of a worry now. And then obviously we've got Mount, who potentially could be injured as well. So it's tough. I wish I could bin them off and get the strikers. And there's so many pros and cons for each of them, and we can go through them individually if you like. But for me, I think Mane is just the number one name on my list at the moment. I really want that guy. So I think as he's in my team, He's my priority. I honestly think that Tammy Abraham and Vardy, along with Aubameyang, it's probably two from those three, and Sterling's probably the man we can make do without.
Yeah, no, definitely. I mean, well, just before we come to my team, just what's your rank now in Sky?
I think 6K, just around
Nice.
6K. So not as good as I would like it to be, but
No.
I've got still quite a few transfers left, so
And
I'm pretty happy where I'm for.
How many transfers have you got left? Or how
I've
many
only
games?
used 7, so I'm on 33.
Okay, that's really good. That's really good. So we'll come to my team. So mine's a little different and a little worse. But first of all, I just want to compliment you. Last time we were on, you recommended actually that I pair these two guys up, Robertson and Alexander-Arnold, that they'd be very good going forward because of clean sheet possibility, but also just their attacking returns. And hey presto, got them in a couple of weeks ago, and they're getting me returns all the time. So, okay, so 5 points from Alexander-Arnold, and Robertson got 9 points, but it's fine. That's what I want from them. They're defenders. They're expensive defenders, admittedly, but I want the possibility of mega returns, but also, I'm quite happy to get steady returns there. As you can see with my team, now I was, before your advice, I was 14k, and now I'm down to 10k. So this is I say up to 10k, I suppose I should say. So I'm moving in the right direction, but I have used 11 transfers. Not I think that's okay. It's less than the equivalent of one a week. It's kind of par for the course, but I think with 11 I'd like to have been much higher, but had a few things to deal with. I've gone for Vardy already. I went for him instead of Sterling, and Sterling's made way. Mane is in. Yes, I agree with you. He's an absolute must. I think he's better than Salah in this game, and arguably amongst FPL managers as well. I also have the question mark over Mount. That lovely double up of Liverpool defenders. Sionju's there, Gilbert's there, Nick Pope in goal. I'm happy to play him for this week's fixtures, but I think, like you, I do like Alisson. I also like Edison still. So one of those two will probably come in. I have a bit of spare cash, so that's a likely move, but not this week, maybe a week or two's time. I hope Maddison's not too serious. Vardy, Aubameyang I'm going to keep. But if I did swap him, I think it would be Abraham, but I'm not sure yet. So if in doubt, do now. And I'm going to just leave it there. But I definitely agree with Mane there. I got your advice last time. Looking at my team there, any particular advice you would give?
I think there's one thing you can maybe look at would be, you say you're not particularly happy with Pope. I think at the moment, Dean, if you can afford it, I think Dean Henderson's similarly priced.
Yeah.
He's outscoring Pope quite considerably. Obviously, Sheffield United keeping clean sheets. The only issue is it would have been lovely because you could have had him as a captain for the Sunday the 24th versus Manchester United as a solo game.
Yeah.
But obviously you can't, and he's not going to play in that, so that's quite annoying. But I still think probably overall it could be a move if you wanted to use that cash elsewhere. However, I probably agree with you. Addressing Pope probably looks like the main issue, as long as you think that. The thing with Edison is they're not keeping clean sheets, but he's still returning really, really big calls in the last few weeks. A lot of saves he's getting, so I actually prefer him at the moment, despite Liverpool's games. But one of those two. That's probably the only thing I can really say about your team. I think it looks really good on paper. Obviously, Mount we have to monitor. Gilbert we have to monitor, but they should be back pretty soon.
Yeah, that's right. I mean, I've learned over the years in Sky that if a player looks like he's out for a week or two, just take it on the chin and be done with it, because the transfers soon get eaten up, and there's nothing worse than getting to those last 4 or 5 weeks of the season and you can't make a transfer. Kane, I just think, remember that season, Kane's. That haunts me when he scored something ridiculous like 7 goals in 3 weeks, and I got none of them. Anyway, let's have a look at some.
I was going to say, just to touch on that word, the year I finished 4th, I actually used my final transfer on getting Sergio Aguero in. Now I was only about 20 points off of the first place person, and then what happened was Aguero got injured in the very game that I bought him in for. I think there was a few weeks left of the season, maybe about 4 or 5 weeks. And Edin Dzeko just went crazy, scored goals every single week. And it's just like if I'd have just waited that one more game and I'd have got Dzeko, potentially could have won it, but it was buts, maybes.
Yeah, I know. Just those. But we move on. We learn from our mistakes. We learn from them. Well, we hope we do. Let's just have a look at some of the bonus stars. This was something that you forward on to me. Looking at is that the right? I think we've actually got an old figure there. So let's just move on a bit. But I've got the figures on my notes here, so I'll just put a nice advert for our members area up in the meantime. But we've got Jorginho at top for bonus. So he's had, now am I right? You sent over to me. It was over the last 3 weeks or the last 4.
It's over the last 3.
Okay.
Yeah, just looking at the last 3 weeks.
That's fine. Jorginho top for 11. An intriguing player, differential, I guess, in the Sky game. Dale Stevens with 10. Aspilicueta with 9 bonus. Sionju with 9, as you would expect. Gundogan with 8. Now he's interesting as well, but Man City's fixtures turn, so not so keen. Kovacic for Chelsea 8. Tomori with 8. So Chelsea are really doing well for the bonus at the moment. Yeah. Van Dijk, they're tracking along with 8 bonus in total. Dubravka is an unusual choice there with 7. Maddison ticking along with 7. And another Chelsea player, Zuma, with 7. So, I mean, overall, I've got to say, for looking at all of the bonus kings of the last 3 weeks or so, why are Chelsea dominating so much?
It's a good question, isn't it? And it's I guess it's just the thing is they've got those Kovacic and Jorginho. I think just dictate the way they play. It was similar under Conte. They also had David Luiz who would feature in there quite often, and they seem to have kept that. They seem to be dominating most opponents they're playing at the moment. Obviously, it didn't quite work that way last night in the Champions League. Just a great all-round team, and they're offering great options. I mean, Jorginho he's quite pricey. I think he's like 9.8 or something like that, which is reasonably expensive when you've got the likes of Mount, potentially Cho, Tammy Abraham was also cheap. But he is actually not only returning the tier 2 passing, which he's always done pretty much. He's always done that. I think it's only 3 games this season he's not returned either tier 2 or tier 1 passing. They were the first 2 games of the season where I guess he was just finding his feet, and then against Liverpool, I believe it was, that he didn't find it, which you'd probably expect in a game like that. Apart from that, he's been doing that. So that's always been like a decent option. But then he's now started to add these assists and goals to his game in penalties. So he's definitely one to monitor, I think. If he's on penalty duty and he's getting these assists left, right and centre, then it's someone to consider. Certainly a differential, I would have thought, against most of the top people. So he's on my radar, but not quite made it yet there because of his price. Tomori is really the one that outstanding because he's just getting that passing bonus every week. I know Chelsea have struggled for clean sheets, but he's so cheap and their games are still good that if you can find a place for him, I think it's probably the time to put him in your team if you can.
Yeah, okay, so I could have a place opening up for Tomori, and I am interested. Bear with me a second, I'm just going to sort this phone out. Okay. There we go. Off. Sorry about that. It's probably Tomori calling me saying, "Get me in your side." I think what always intrigues me, as it does in the Sky game, suddenly it's these kind of players, when you play FPL all the time, suddenly these other players that you perhaps aren't considering are raising their head above the parapet in terms of bonus, for example. And I think Jorginho is one I'm looking at there. Tomori, another, and in previous years, obviously it's been the likes of Harry Arter and those kinds of players you just wouldn't even contemplate in another format. But in Sky, could be gold. Never know. We've had a few questions looking ahead to week 14 and beyond. I guess we're going to start with some questions about this guy, Vardy. Now, he's in my team, very happy with that. Not in your team, but you're looking at him, and so other people. So Ollie Paul has been asking, with the continued strong performance of strikers like Vardy, who are your top priority strikers for the striking roles at present? And E.G., he has Abraham as one of them, so he's one there. And is Abraham, Mane, Sterling, Vardy, who do we go for? Heskebo asks a very similar thing. Vardy is tearing up. Abraham's offering great value. Aubameyang's covering key captaincy days. Mana and Salah they're looking good. Sterling and Aguero, are formidable players. Who are the key forwards? How do we fit? I mean, you mentioned it earlier. You want 5 or 6 striker spots. Probably 7 or 8 would do. But if you haven't got Vardy and Abraham, but you really like the look of your strike force, the likes of Aubameyang, Aguero, Sterling, whoever, Mane, how do you get them in? Are they essential, or can you just make do without?
It's extremely tough to answer, isn't it? I'm in exactly that position. I've got Mane, Sterling, Aubameyang, and I would really like Tammy Abraham and Vardy. I think if I was to have a complete new slate and you were to offer me like a wild card right now, I think I would probably go with Mane for sure, probably Tammy Abraham as my second choice. And then I think I'd have to put Aubameyang in there just for the games more than any other reason that he's got those single match days coming up fairly shortly, so to save myself the transfer. The argument, I guess, against Sterling and against Vardy is what we've sort of covered already with Soyuncu. I mean, Vardy's been great, but I think a lot of people have got Soyuncu, and he's cost a lot less, and to a large extent, he's, for want of a better phrase, covering his points. So I don't think Vardy is absolutely essential for that reason. And similar to Sterling, who's also not particularly had a great time with the hauls and stuff for us, regularly not returning at the moment. You've obviously got De Bruyne there as well, who a lot of people have. So he kind of, to an extent, can be covered. When you look at Mane, there's certainly no one in attack that you can really cover him with. I mean, Salah's the same price, so it doesn't really count. They've got such good run. You could argue maybe that you could use your armband on the defenders. I probably couldn't disagree with that. However, I really want an attacking player from them as well. And the same with Aubameyang. There isn't really anyone else who can cover him. With Chelsea, Tammy Abraham, the reason why he's in there is that at the moment, Mount's obviously got that slight injury doubt. His returns have dipped a little bit. And the likes of Hudson-Odoi, Jorginho, Tomori, they're not as prolific. I don't think. I haven't got the ceiling that Tammy Abraham's had. He's having so many shots. So I guess it comes a little bit down to coverage. However, like you said, I'm in a position where I've got Mane, Sterling, Aubameyang, and the only one I'm really looking at maybe is Sterling out to Tammy, and it's a really tough decision as to when to do that. I think it would probably have to be this week. Yeah. There doesn't seem to be a fixture fall that benefits us for a 2-for-1, not for a while anyway. So it's, I don't know. What about you? What are you looking to do with your front?
Well, I mean, looking at my forward line, I have made that move from Sterling to Vardy there. And I must admit, I knew that it was a risk. It always is when you're removing a good player for another good player. But I just felt it just looked right. And I think with De Bruyne there, I just felt with Man City, they weren't that, the huge scores I was expecting each week from them are just not happening. And I think they are spreading the points out in all formats, but particularly in Sky. I think De Bruyne often, to me, looks like the best player on the pitch. So if he's looking the best player on the pitch, equals man of the match points. I just think with those that fixture swing, with premium places there up front with strikers, they've got to be absolutely amazing. Whereas in midfield, as you said, there's not a lot of midfielders I want really. So De Bruyne can stay, Sterling, and it makes me think Sterling can go, and he has.
And the other argument against Sterling, I guess, is the fact that the fixtures are bad as we know, but he's not really been getting that shots on target bonus. So even if he blanks as your captain, he's not really been picking that up as something to fall back on, which the likes of Vardy, Aubameyang, Mane, they don't often have that many shots, but quite often they are on target. So they've often got those sort of caveats to fall back on. So Tammy especially, having so many shots and really good games, and he's just so much cheaper than the other three. So I think he's probably alongside Mane in my top 2.
Yeah, I mean, that's the decision I'll face, and it's more strategic. If any go, it's Aubameyang, but Aubameyang offers something different, doesn't he? He offers that fact that because they're involved in Europe and he tends to be playing later in the week on a Sunday, just often that. And I look at Arsenal, and he is Arsenal, basically. He is the best player to have with them.
I'd say just on performance alone, you probably wouldn't have him. It's really for like you say, those games that are coming up. It's in the 9th of December. They're away to West Ham on a single match day. Arsenal not the greatest team away, so could you argue you can maybe get away with not having him there? Maybe. You've also got the 5th of December just before that. They're at home to Brighton on a day when it's only Sheffield United and Newcastle is the only other fixture. So he will be heavily captained on that game day, 1st to the 5th of December.
Yeah.
And it's, even if you don't think he's going to do much, it's almost just a complete safety net. If he does do anything, your rank's just going to completely dive. So, yeah, if it wasn't for those games, I'd probably look elsewhere. But I just think he's essential, unfortunately, for those reasons.
Yeah, I mean, what do you think? There's another question here about Lundstram. Now, he's been tearing it up in FPL, who kindly priced him as one of the cheapest defenders, if not the cheapest defender in the game originally. But different matter in Sky. Just remind people sort of where he is in Sky, and also why perhaps he's not the lord he is in FPL.
Yeah, unfortunately, Sky have done their research, unlike FPL on this matter, and they've actually put him in his correct position, which is midfield. So he is extremely cheap. I think he's 6 million, is he? Did you
He's
say?
a 6 million midfielder, yes.
Yeah, so he still is obviously a decent pick because I think he's on 45 points or something around that number. And he's been getting these goals. However, obviously, he doesn't really get bonus. He doesn't get any clean sheet points. So you are solely relying on goals. Yeah. And aside from the brace this week, I think there's probably only been one other, I think I'm right in saying, which was right at the game week 2, which is looking now. He got a goal. So 3 goals and 1 assist in 11 weeks. Not great, but when you're at that price, if he's a filler and you've got faith in him continuing that trend, he's a reasonable option. However, won't be coming into my team.
No, he's got 45 points now, which is obviously reasonable for 6 million midfielder. But like I said, he's not going to score every week. If he did, well, they'd definitely get him in. But so Norwood there, his teammate, 6.4, so more expensive. But he's on 30 points, so it's not a huge difference really between the two. So that's the sort of player he is. He's
I think many people will be asking because a lot of people have jumped on Cantwell, who was 5.8 million. They might have a structure in their team where they really need a cheap midfielder. So if you're on that and you really don't want to adjust it, then I guess Lundstram is the best of a bad bunch. Because Cantwell looks to be dropping off or potentially losing his place. But aside from that, I'd probably look to restructure over just replacing.
Yeah, I mean, I don't like the look of anyone in that. I think it's really until you get to Mount, 61 points for 7.3. I think you're looking at a better player. I had Harry Wilson earlier in the season for a while. Not bad, actually. But I'm overall, long term, I'm not too keen on him. I only got him in for a good spell of fixtures, a long-term bit of fixtures earlier in the season, and time to move on, really.
There is one other name in that bracket. Well, he's not quite in that bracket, but a little bit above at 8 million, who's just out of reach for me. So I've got Hudson-Odoi, who's 7.8 million. I've only got 0.1 in the bank, so I'm 0.1 short as usual for the player that I kind of looked at, and that's Trossard at 8 million.
Yeah.
So I think he is a good option. The games are pretty rubbish, but he looks like he's a special kind of player, and he's obviously their talisman. It's nice to have that talisman sort of player in Sky because he's got the man of the match. He's taking set pieces. So yeah, I still think he's a good option.
Yeah, and also McGinn could still be a good option. I felt that there was a change in formation with Villa. Grealish was pushed much more into the thick of it around the goal, and McGinn, well, as we see, he got an assist in the last week's fixtures, but overall, I'm not sure. But nevertheless, 71 points so far, 7.4. I think he is still a good option there. And Mount, and as you said, there's a few others, but not quite sure. And just finally, with our questions that we've got here, Joe Finley Barder and Jack Palmer say, is it worth transferring in any Norwich and Watford players ahead of their Friday night game? I have none. How about you? And William?
I've got none, and experience has taught me that you probably shouldn't bother with these. I could end up eating my words with that. Because anything can happen on an individual day. However, it's going to be 2 swaps because I'm not going to want a Watford player long term or a Norwich player long term. Despite saying that, Watford do actually play home to Burnley the next week, so they could be reasonable for like a 2-game sort of punt on them if you wanted to, and then they're away to Southampton the week after as well. So they have got a reasonable set of fixtures. And the only person I would look at would be Delafeu. I think he's 8.3 or something. He plays in midfield. He's around that price. Taking all set pieces. We know what Delafeu can come out with ridiculous performances every now and then. He goes on a little run where he gets penalties, free kicks. He can be extremely explosive. However, it's just so few and far between. So I'd say if you were going to be tempted on anyone to take a punt, it would be him. However, I won't be doing it personally. And the other option, of course, is Buki, 7.8 million. He's still incredibly cheap. It's just whether you think he can rediscover his goal-scoring touch.
I mean, I always think with these types of fixtures, if it's a player I want long-term, I'll get in. And isn't that great that they're a player you can also captain for that one day? And you can have them for a few weeks, but there isn't any of those Norwich or Watford players that I want long term. The Pookie party is truly over. Cantwell not interested. But while we were talking, actually, just noticed actually that Traore could be a good option for Wolves. Now, you know him, the guy that runs really fast and can't score, but he can score sometimes now for Wolves. Wolves have a great run of fixtures coming up. I noticed that he's 6.9, selected by 1.97, so very much a differential. He's on 49 points. This is not too bad. And I think he's got potential as man of the match. He's got 4 man of the matches as well. This is very interesting. A couple of goals and assist. I don't know. Is that...
Yeah, you've just alerted me to him, to be honest. Okay. It sounds good, doesn't it? He has got that star quality, like you say. It's hard not to notice on the pitch. It's just so rapid.
It's too fast to even notice.
Yeah, he's completely gone past my vision, so I didn't even see him. The thing is, Doherty seems to be potentially back soon, and there's been a little bit of rotation at that sort of right wing back area. I know he's occasionally been stationed up front as well. I think it's just the whole, you're not really sure where he's going to play, but at 6.9 million with good fixtures, it's certainly a reasonable punt. The goals haven't always been there for Traore. You take that brace out against Man City, his point run doesn't look that great. No. He's got 19 points in that one game. Yeah. Aside from that, it's a string of 1s and 2s, occasionally popping up with an assist. So I don't think it'd be much more than a punt, really.
Yeah,
but...
or an enabler. If depending on your team structure, if you're looking at a case of loading up on those good defenders, you want to get those good attackers in, and the only way you could do it is to have a cheaper player in midfield possible. I might give him a go in my second team, my risk-taking, I don't care about it team.
It feels like one of those kind of moves, doesn't it?
Yeah, it does, definitely. I can't take credit for highlighting him, though. It's the credit there goes to Noisy Boy 1583, who sold Hudson-Odoi and got Traore in. There we go. So Noisy Boy 1583, a bit of a maverick there, and I hope it pays off for you. Meanwhile, Luke, thanks a lot for joining me. Thanks a lot for your advice, and I know what you mean about my goalkeeper situation, but I'm definitely going to follow that because I followed your advice last time and got loads of points coming in. But for now, good luck with the upcoming week in Sky, Luke.
Thanks a lot. Thanks for having me on, Joe. And good luck yourself.
Cheers.